Dear students, after studying this module, you shall be able to have knowledge about plastic currency, differentiate between different types of cards issued by the banks, know about the uses of different cards, know the forensic significance of plastic money, know about different instruments used for the examination and comparison of different cards, and know about the legal framework related to plastic money in India. The technological advancements in different fields have led to the change in the way we use different things on a daily basis. The practice of exchange of materials to gain some other materials has been followed since a very long time. The practice of exchange of materials to gain some other materials has been followed since a very long time, being called as the barter system. This system has been used for centuries and long before money was invented. When money was introduced, the practice of purchase and sell became easy. After a series of development and technological advancements, the most advanced way of exchange which is now practiced is by using plastic money. The term plastic currency is used predominantly in reference to the hard plastic cards that are issued by the banks or an authority that provides certain rights to the customer or the user. Some of them being able to make payments, enter into secure area with many such other uses. The term plastic currency has been used in different settings to describe wide variety of payment systems and technologies. Plastic currencies are the alternative to the cash or the standard money. Plastic currency is the generic term for all types of cards such as bank cards, credit cards, smart cards, etc. Plastic currency was introduced in 1930 and now it is an essential form of money. Citibank was the first bank in 1991 to launch credit card in India. Types of plastic currency. First, credit cards. Credit cards are usually plastic card issued to a cardholder with a credit limit that can be used to purchase any services and goods on credit basis or obtain cash advances. The credit cards are issued by the bank in association with companies like Visa, MasterCard, Diners Club, etc. After proper verification of account holder is completed, credit cards provide overdraft facility and the customer can purchase over and above the amount available in his account from any merchant and thus regarded as authentic payment tool. Interest charges are levied on the rest of the unpaid balance after the payment is due. Cardholders can choose to pay the entire amount due and save on the interest that would otherwise be charged. For customers who make huge purchases, an equated monthly installments, that is EMI scheme, is provided by the banks so that they can feel convenient while paying back the outstanding amount. The customers can also pay the clearing and settlement amount through credit cards, which is considered as a simple and reliable process in which banks play a very crucial role. Second, debit cards. Debit card is a magnetically encoded plastic card issued by banks which has replaced cash and checks. The customers don't need to carry any cash with them to make purchases of goods and services when using the debit cards. In many cases, debit card is multi-purpose, which can also be used in ATM of different banks for withdrawing cash and to check account balances and make online payment. It is issued free of cost with the savings or current account by the bank. Debit card is one of the best and most widely used online e-payment tool through which the amount of the goods and services purchased can be immediately deducted from customer account and credited to merchant's account on a condition that the amount to be paid is available in the customer's account. It is a quick and safe method which has replaced the traditional methods of payment using checks, due to which merchants had to suffer a lot of times. There are currently two ways that debit cards transactions are processed: online debit, also known as PIN, Offline debit, also known as signature debit. Smart card, a computer chip installed on a plastic card and enabling the holder to purchase goods and services, to get access in restricted areas, access medical, financial or other records, or perform other operations requiring data stored on the chip. BRTS, which stands for Bus Rapid Transit Services, introduced smart cards in Gujarat in India. Charge cards. A charge card carries all the features of credit cards. The difference between a charge card and a credit card is that the customer needs to pay off the entire billing amount by a due date. The customer is likely to be considered as a defaulter customer if he fails to do so, and will usually have to pay up a steep late payment charge. ATM cards. These cards are typically used at automatic teller machines or the ATMs to withdraw cash, make deposits or transfer funds between accounts. ATM card is used by inserting the card into an automatic teller machine, and for authentication, the customer needs to enter a personal identification number or PIN. For security is used for authentication. The system checks the account for adequate funds before permitting any transaction. Next is MX card. MX stands for American Express and is one of the well-known charge cards. These cards have its own merchant established tie-ups and do not depend on the network of MasterCard or Visa cards. MasterCard and Visa card. MasterCard and Visa are global non-profit organizations that promote the growth of the card business across the world. They have built a vast network of merchant establishments in association with several banks so that customers worldwide may use their credit cards to make various purchases. Store cards. These are like credit cards. Only on these cards can be charged at a very high interest rate and are limited in the places they can be used. Sometimes it can only be used in the store brand that issued it. Now we'll study about the security features of plastic currency. First, we'll study about the security features on the front of the card. First is the hologram. Holograms are small metallic oblongs containing a laser-etched image on their surface. The image changes shape and color depending on the viewing angle and is very difficult to forge. The most visual feature on a credit card is the three-dimensional hologram of a dove that is situated at the right-hand side of the front of the card. When the card is tilted, the hologram will give an impression of movement in the dove's wing tips and show a change of color. The last 4 digits of the embossed account number are incorporated in the hologram. Very few counterfeit holograms practically have actually been used. In most cases of counterfeit cards, the hologram is not a hologram but a look-alike item that is actually reflective and not refractive. They are refractive, that is, the item in the hologram appears to actually move, whereas a reflective item is only a photo on a reflective material. Forged holograms have included printed images using a variety of materials and inks. Some have used plain foils and or grating foils. Second, security printing. At the top right front corner of all Visa cards is the Visa logo. Surrounding the logo is a security feature known as security printing, also known as microprinting. This fine line printing, only distinguishable through magnification, is an alphanumeric repeated sequence providing specific identification and verification details, including the type of product, and the card printer of the card microprinting is extremely small printing, too small for the naked eye, and is very difficult to copy or reproduce by technical means. This involves carefully shaving the fine line printing of the plastic with a sharp razor blade and then pasting on a new fine line printing, or a resemblance thereof by using special liquid glue, but upon inspection a solid line can be noticed. A thin line appears and no printing is present. Third, ultraviolet features. In the center on the front of the card, there is an ultraviolet security feature. In the center on the front of the card and over part of the account number below the expiry date is the ultraviolet feature. A fluorescent image of a daub will be seen when ultraviolet light is passed over the face of the card. This image is completely different daub and not the same as is found in the hologram. Criminals do not interfere with this security feature, and in many cases they are not knowledgeable about the existence of the security. Printed bean. Another highly visible security feature is the printed bean, situated below the first 4 digits of the account number. This is a 4-digit printed number that match the first 4 digits of the embossed account number. The printed bean can be found either above or below the start of the embossed account number. This printed bean is the bank's identification number. Criminals usually use a method known as shave and paste, which requires the careful shaving of the details using a sharp instrument, for example, a razor blade, and then place new details, affixing it to the card by using special liquid glue. Security features on the back side of the card. Magnetic stripe. The magnetic stripe is a stripe of magnetic tape affixed to the back of a card. The magnetic stripe contains essential card holder and account related information. The magnetic stripe can store about 130 characters or numbers. The magnetic stripe allows a transaction to be processed when it is read at an electronic point of sale at merchant. The information includes the account number and expiry date, which must correspond with those embossed on the face of the card. The use of non-standard stripes makes it difficult for a forger to encode information onto the magnetic stripe. Although it is technically possible to remove a magnetic stripe from a card and replace it with another, or re-record magnetic stripe, that is CVV, or magnetic stripe signature panel. A magnetic stripe includes the painting of a stripe of magnetic ink on the back of a card, which allows for the recording of information that only a magnetic reader can read. Card verification value, or the CVV number. The card verification value, commonly known as the CVV number, is an algorithmically calculated number that is verified by the issuing bank when a transaction is completed by an electronic point of sale terminal and appears on the back of the card. The check allows the bank to confirm that the information is the same as that encoded on the magnetic stripe of the genuine card. To counter the threat of encoded counterfeit cards, the industry began to encode special information on the magnetic stripe of all valid cards. This number is based on the account number, expiration date, and service code, and is calculated. Signature panel. The signature panel has the word Visa in blue and gold at 45 degrees on a white background and appears on the back of the card. The word void is shown when the panel is tampered with. To remove a signature panel, the genuine card holder is required to sign the signature panel on the receipt of the card. A repetitive color design of either the Visa or MasterCard name should appear on all signature panels. An altered signature panel may be discolored, painted, glued, erased, or covered with white tape. Now, forensic significance of plastic currency. In the past few decades, banking organizations and law enforcement throughout the world have struggled to keep up with the different and innovative facets of plastic money fraud. In spite of the stupendous growth in the plastic money frauds and the loss of billions of dollars caused by these frauds, plastic money fraud is one of the less researched issues under law, especially in India. Plastic money fraud. The Fraud Examiner's Manual defines credit card fraud as the misuse of credit cards to make purchases without authorization or counterfeiting a credit card. Credit card issuing banks lose around $1.5 to $2 billion every year because of these frauds. The different types of frauds are as follows. First, application fraud. The fraudster obtains information about the person who is eligible to get a card and then replaces the residential address of that person by his own address. The fraudster then calls the bank and places a lost card complaint and asks for a new card. Only this time the new card would be delivered at the fraudster's address. Second, multiple imprints. The fraudulent merchant asks the card holder to sign on more than one charge slip by giving a reason that the former print was not clear or so on. Later on, the merchant would submit both of the charge slips and would get the benefits of both charge slips. The card holder cannot deny the charges as he has himself signed them both. Third is sold paper. Now, merchants can submit consecutive charge slips for the same card holder at an interval of few weeks or months. This would lead to a delay for the merchant to get his money. So, to overcome this delay, the charge slips are sold to other merchants for a fixed price, who in return submit the charge slips to his acquirer. This is more difficult to trace. Fourth, altered credit cards. In altered credit cards, the genuine card that was manufactured and issued by the banks are altered. The forger gives the card a new entity by altering a lost or a stolen card. The changes done in an altered card are a new name, an account number, and a convenient expiry date is re-embossed on the new card. The original signatures are changed sometimes or else kept the same and forged while signing. Fifth, duplicate card. The duplicate credit cards are those wherein the defrauders have duplicated the original cards by means of photomechanical processes. This is done by following the exact same processes followed by the manufacturer. That includes using same material, use of similar processes of embossing and printing to achieve as close a replica of the genuine card. Sixth, white plastic. White plastic in general are imitations of a genuine card. The forger does not bother to replicate the genuine card in a way it was manufactured. The counterfeit cards are poor imitations and can be distinguished by any person if visually examined. There are many other credit card frauds that are committed online. Some of the very popular ones are identity theft, phishing, and shoulder surfing. Now, we'll study about the prevention and detection. Some of the techniques that are currently used for detection are the visual inspection or using holograms. They offer some protection against plastic card frauds, whereas the signature of a person can be forged if tried. The use of computer chips instead of magnetic stripes in smart cards makes the information secure. The use of biometric systems also reduces the chances of frauds to a greater extent. Cards with pins are available almost everywhere and hence reducing the chances of frauds again. A proper training about security features of a card can help the several merchants to stop from being a victim of fraud. At a card holder level, it is a responsibility of the owner of the card. A card holder should never share personal information, and if the card is stolen and lost, then he should lodge a complaint at the police station and also in the bank. Ultimately, as long as the cards are in existence, these credit card frauds are bound to happen. Next is fraud investigation. Once the fraud is detected or suspected, the next step is the investigation of the same. Investigation in the case of credit card frauds is done at two levels: external investigation and internal investigation. External investigation. This refers to the investigation of the fraud by an outside investigating agency like police or the private investigators. Within a particular police department, there are certain units that provide services in solving credit card frauds, some of them being: first, the forgery and anti-counterfeiting department; second, fingerprinting; third, handwriting experts; fourth, modus operandi unit; and fifth, Criminal Investigation Department, that is the CID. Second, internal investigation. Internal investigation refers to the investigation of the credit card fraud carried by the workforces of the credit card issuing bank. There are some important aspects related to internal investigation, which are as follows. First, specialist fraud investigation team, which is the internal team. Second, networking with competitors. Third, internal intelligence gathering and statistics. Fourth, internal red flagging and caution signals. Fifth, data on direct sales agents, that is DSAS. Now we'll discuss about the examination of plastic currency in forensic laboratories. Physical examination. First, measure dimensions using scales and gauge to measure thickness. Second, signature panel and magnetic strip length. Third, all card sizes have a thickness of 0.76 mm. Length and breadth has a standard value, that is 85.60 into 53.98 mm. There are various instruments that are used for the examination. First is stereo microscope. We have to look for all the security features and compare it with standard cards under stereo microscope for 3D view. Comparison microscope. We can also compare the fine details of the card and compare them at the same time. Then is VSC or video spectral comparator. We can observe the fine details like microlettering, embossing, engraving, holograms and the various images that are seen on the card. To observe this, all we can use are various light sources of various wavelengths like infrared light, transmitted light and ultraviolet light. Next is legal and regulatory framework. The regulation of plastic money business in India is diffused and it needs to be comprehensive. Whereas in other developed countries, the law on plastic money is well defined and straightforward. Credit industry's legislative premises in India are primarily confined to the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, that is the Common Consumer Law, and the Indian Penal Code of 1860, that is the General Criminal Law. In addition, the legislations like Banking Regulation Act of 1949, RBI Guidelines, Income Tax Act 1961, etc. also regulate the card business in India to some extent. Some of the legislations that play a major role in regulation of card business in India are as follows. Indian Contract Act 1872, Indian Penal Code 1860, the Negotiable Instruments Act of 1881, the Consumer Protection Act 1986, Income Tax Act 1961, the Information Technology Act of 2000, the Foreign Exchange Management Act of 1999, Payment and Settlement System Act of 2007, and Reserve Bank of India Framework. Plastic currency is the generic term for all the types of cards such as bank cards, credit cards, smart cards, etc. The increase in the use of plastic currency has made the money availability all over the world very convenient. Many of these cards can be used globally, and this being a great advantage for the customers. Plastic currency includes different types of cards, some being credit cards, debit cards, smart cards, charge cards, ATM cards, MX cards, MasterCard and Visa, and store cards. Various security features includes holograms, security printing, several UV features, printed bean, magnetic stripes, CVV number, signature panel, etc. Due to augment in the use of plastic currency, the crimes related to it has also shown growth in the last decade. Some of the well-known crimes include frauds such as application frauds, multiple imprints, sold paper, altered credit cards, duplicate cards, identity theft, shoulder surfing, and many more. We also learned about the prevention, detection, and investigation of these frauds, physical examination of the plastic currency, and also the instruments used for the examination such as stereo microscope, comparison microscope, and video spectral comparator. We also learned about the legal and regulatory framework in India regarding plastic currency.